Hello, I'm Jenna Ely, and I'm with the Fiercely Independent Network. We're here in front of Mountain View Studios for the closing panels on the last day of the Woodstock Film Festival. Let's go take a look at the highlights.
At 7, fly to Pittsburgh, where I would sit in a room with monkeys. I had to get them before we started shooting. This was about 3 or 4 weeks before we started shooting, so I had to get them. They had to get used to me, basically.
My advice for actors is you have to have something else you love doing besides acting, because it's a very roller coaster kind of life. For me, it's teaching yoga and teaching acting. So whenever I'm not acting in front of on stage or in front of a camera, I'm teaching or coaching. And I stopped recently, but 35 years I taught yoga. So if you don't have something else you love to do, you can feel really hurt when you get rejected. Yeah. And I paint. And so my biggest advice would be do the acting thing, but also have something else you love to do, so you never take it personally when you don't get the job.
When I was 17, and Uta Hagen said to me, "Where did you learn how to do that with your eyes?"
These panelists had a really good,
rapport with
each other.
I know, they had never met each other. We all met in the green room. There was a little awkwardness. Sally's a legend, and I want everybody to feel like they're part of it, and the audience as well. And I think it was just fortuitous luck that the three of them came together today.
Yeah.
Really happy. It came out, it was, sometimes I do really big actors. Last year was Vincent D'Onofrio, Edie Falco, I've done Aidan Quinn. Mm-hmm. This was a wonderful confluence of people.
Yeah,
it worked out really well.
It did. It was a very successful panel, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You want to raise as much equity as possible, and it's just banging on doors, friends and family, whoever it is, you can raise the equity. And then, of course, the short.
What is your biggest piece of advice for an aspiring young filmmaker, maybe someone in college who could be watching this? What would be your first step for them to take?
They need to find an amazing script. Mm-hmm. Everything is in the story. If you have an amazing script, you'll attract investors. If you have an amazing script, you'll attract actors. Mm-hmm. You'll attract producers. Everyone is going to come around you if you have something that is unique, that has a real voice, and that is going to touch people.
Comments that kind of leaves this big gray space. So Claude, when you began, by sort of dividing projects into 3 categories, the sort of it's my passion category, the maybe it's going to make money category, and it looks kind of good.
How does a film festival like Woodstock help with fundraising, even though it's post-production and after the production has been made?
I think for people like us in this independent world, it's more about connecting people and letting people find together ways they can collaborate. Mm-hmm. I have equipment, you have access to talents, you have access to money, I can bring a script to the project and really let the people work together and create a network. I think that's really what Woodstock is outstanding at doing.
Yeah, it is.
So looking at that from film, games, and from experience design, which I don't know if you would call it something else, but I came out of theater and that seemed like an experience to me.
The only difference is we stage it for the camera. We don't stage it as a live event. So.
But it's an interesting mix, because I definitely got an excited call from my husband who was on the streets that day.
You guys were talking a lot about interacting between different departments, editing, working with the pre-production, all that stuff. What is your advice for dealing with people in different areas that you might not have the best expertise in?
My advice is, first and foremost, if you're interested in producing, or anything that you're going to do in film, because it is such a collaborative process, is to learn as much as you can about everything. You don't have to be an expert in every field, but you should at least understand the basic elements of every aspect of filmmaking. Then, the second most important thing is really good communication amongst everybody, so that everybody knows they're working together, and they're working well together, and they're all working towards the same thing. And then my number one rule of thumb is always hire people smarter than you to work for you.
It's definitely a good rule of thumb to have.
So that story point really becomes the structure that everyone looks to figure out if they are working sensibly and, ends up appealing to everyone, because, anyone can come up with a good idea that comes into it, and anyone who's looking to build a new piece of licensing or find a new profit center can look at this structure and say, hey, this is a piece of time that we could put you in.
How do you think the state of independent filmmaking is going today?
I think there's a lot of really exciting films being made. I think there are a lot of movies being made, which is great, because the barriers to entry for making a film, for distributing a film, all of those keep coming down. Digital technology has made it so much easier and cheaper for people to make movies, but also we have a generation of people who've grown up with those kind of movie storytelling is just part of their lives. So more and more people making really great, interesting stories. The hard thing about it is there's so many movies being made that it's hard to sort of make enough noise to get your movie noticed. But I think the good ones will always rise to the surface.
Thanks for joining us. For more coverage, visit www.woodstockfilmfestival.com.